Empires fade and crumble to dust, and what is left of it? Nothing. There is no memory, there is no sound, there is no voice, there is no cry. There is only the remembrance that it existed, not that it lived. And you know, after taking my meds, I feel like I am just fading away, like I am just dust. I am just one with nothing. There is nothing to belong or where to belong. I am lost, aimlessly wandering to no means, to no end. And doesn't this say a lot about society? Now, good evening, everyone. This is your podcast host, Jess, and I decided that, after seeing my world crumble around me and the lack of giant metal horse statues and also my actual, everyone I know actually not being real, I decided it's time to break that mold. Did I say the intro? I don't know if I said the intro. You see, I'm so lost. I completely forgot if I said the intro now. But I decided to review I am insane. I decided to interview the Black Knight from Dark Souls. Now, you might be wondering, they look rather stagnant and unmoving. That is because I have strapped them to the chair. So, the Black Knight comes from the kingdom of Lordran, which in Dark Souls, how may I say, it's not doing the best. It is, you could say it's doing rather poorly. Isn't that right, friend? Now, as you can see right here, there are certain undead in Dark Souls. Well, most of the people basically in Dark Souls are undead, and they are basically, they only say a couple of things, like grunting, and there are a few people who can actually still talk. Usually you go quite insane and then you lose the ability to talk, like this fella right here. But point being is, while I did pick them up in the helicopter in like a KILN area kind of, they still are one of the last remnants to understanding the Dark Souls kingdom of Lordran and understanding what it was like to basically be a god during that time. Because as you can see right here, from the look of how their armor is, that is not a humanoid right now. I was like, I probably could put on an Australian accent right now. I'm really discovering. So essentially, we're just looking at ancient history. Now, this is what is it? I think I don't want. Oh, I was about to do JFK. I think I see a dark knight. Well, actually, this would be a black knight. Oh no. Actually, I'm going to stop doing that. But point being is, we're going to try to see if we can actually derive something out of this undead corpse. And you might be wondering, how am I not like them? Well, that's because I run a podcast. The podcast is the only thing keeping me sane at the current moment. So when understanding an empire, there is always going to be the military aspect, which I think is what most people have derived from actually seeing, Dark Souls, Black Knights, and everyone else in action. They're a knight. They probably follow some form of like feudalism stuff and whatnot. They answer to a king and they're like, hey, yo, man, give me the monies or something. I really like you. And then they start kissing in the background. But point being is, they are a key to how society is being run. So there is a definite distinction between the knights and the humans, because the knights are humanoids, not necessarily humans. They would be considered not necessarily like the gods, but because there are lords, that's like Gwyn and stuff. And it's like, these would basically be non-humans. It's like, you could consider them basically above humans. But point being is, I think you can kind of understand how human society would likely have run. It sucked. And that's probably about that relatively it. That's relatively on point. Do you think it also sucked? Yeah, this is basically like, what's the wildlife channel? Just Shark Week for Black Knights. Oh yeah. But point being is, Actually, what was even the point being? I completely forgot what I said. You see, I'm fading away. The podcast is the only thing holding me together. It's like I'm gonna lose everything. It'll all be gone. I have to prevent it. I can't end up like you. I can't be like you. Thoughtless, unprovoking, really good at combat. Is it really such a bad idea if you think about it? I mean, really, they are quite good at combat. I mean, once they break out of this chair, I mean, there's probably it's gonna be bad. It's not gonna be good. But point being is, there are probably still a couple of things we could derive about the culture of the gods in Lordran. And maybe speaking about it, I might be able to provoke some kind of response. All right. So, Black Knight, Knight of Gwyn. Where is the best place in Lordran to get a hot dog? Still nothing. I've been at this for about 5 hours right now, and I still haven't been able to crack them. Well, the thing is, it's like they do want to stab me, right? That's why they're kind of stuck to that chair right now. But it's like there's nothing. It's like that really provokes a reaction that could really give me any kind of insight: angry, happiness, sadness. There's nothing to really give anything to actually explain the feelings, and I think that's kind of the main issue here. Is I think the story of the gods, how they lived and their city might be lost really to time. The thing is, you can scavenge a couple of items to really kind of derive like, oh, this is how probably this operated. But there's only really so much. It's like you can't really get deep with it because you could be like, oh, I mean, they were knights. So it's like they had people who made armor, stuff like that. But it's like, how would they conversate? How would they talk with one another? What was the feeling? What was the culture like? You probably won't really ever be able to get that because it's like, I mean, well, they're all basically undead zombies now of their former self. I mean, Gwyn is basically a pile of jerky if you think about it. I mean, it's like you could probably, I actually, that'd probably not taste that good, but water. But it just, yeah, it's just, I mean, there just really isn't anything to go off. So it's like, but the thing is, the best way to really get at culture would be to start with food. Like, what would they make else? Like, stuff like that. Because the thing is, they're gods. They don't really eat food. It's like, I mean, they're also zombies now, but it's like that. I mean, that thing don't eat food. They would eat it mainly for pleasure. So it's like, what would that derive about the culture? It's like, so where in the place could you get a hot dog? Nothing, absolutely nothing. It's like it was like a hot dog is literally the food of humanity. So it's like if you go back into Dark Souls lore right here, it's like a hot dog. A hot dog is what kept humanity alive. That is what allowed humanity to really exist in the world of Dark Souls. So it's like, you know, it's like those like, what is it? The lords took from the flame. So there's this thing called the furtive pygmy or whatever he is. He took a hot dog out of the flame and passed that hot dog down to it, basically to its not predecessors, but is it children? However you would say, it's like passed down like the lineage, just like, yeah, passed down a hot dog, and the hot dog essentially became a key cultural aspect of human society in Dark Souls. Like, you see the Dark brand, it was like that thing. It's like that is reminiscent of a Bunsen burner of which you could possibly make a hot dog on. So it's like it's incomplete because it's kind of like, you see how it's kind of like a circle. The circle represents the hot dog chain as you kind of cook it in the basically the circular hot dog pan. Now, really, that doesn't say too much about Lordran and the gods, but it is a key aspect of humanity. And while humanity and the deities, how may I say, they didn't really get along well. But if we're trying to start to link the two, imagine they would share a couple of things. So obviously the starting point should be with a hot dog. Is there a hot dog version in Lordran? Darn it. All right. Well, I couldn't. It's like, okay, so it's like, is there like cooked meat between two buns? Not like a hamburger, but like kind of like you have cooked meat between like a bookcase. Come on, please, please, just give me something. Please, come on. Actually, the restraints are kind of loosening on the chair right now. I'm gonna have to fix those in a little bit. But yeah, okay. I was like, is there not a Frankie in Lordran, right? It's like you got to get a nice Frank, right? I just, it's kind of a shame where it's like you can kind of see a version of yourself, as like they're kind of just, there's just nothing left. It's just gone. When everything's at the end, there's nothing left. There's no one really to remember you except for the fact that you have existed at one point. No one knows your names, naming schemes, stuff like that. It's just gone. It really kind of just is a tragedy. And, you also could have never tasted what a hot dog was like in Anor Londo too. It's like, did they have hot dog vendors? Did they even call what we consider to be a hot dog? Because humans called it hot dogs. That's without a shadow of doubt. That's confirmed in item shield green hot dog vendor cart item in like Dark Souls. That's there. There's just so very little. It's just not enough. I just see it. I just see cold, dead eyes. The thing is like you can't really see the helmet right here. I can kind of see through the helmet a little bit. It's like the eye, it's just cold and unseeing. But are you there's no Franks. No Frankie boys. No nothing, no hot dogs. Or it's like, at least is there meat between bread that is cooked? I mean, what else is there to really say to them? It's just like, if I've been here for actually like 10 hours just saying, hey, do you want you want a nice Frank? You want a dog? You want a dog? And I was like, nothing. I got absolutely nothing out of the Black Knight. I was like, you could probably say it's like the only thing tying them together might be loyalty, but at that point, I mean, look at them. It's like their mind's gone. It's like they're not even focused on this conversation. I basically took like the mummy from like Egypt and put it in like the British History Museum. I was like, all right, guys, here's a living, breathing mummy, as they kind of just stare lifelessly through the glass. And unfortunately, that's just the state of affairs. Unless, what if the real thing that I need to do is focus not on trying to figure out them, but trying to provoke a reaction out of them? Yeah. I don't see a reaction out of them. I was like, the thing is, I called Gwyn a piece of beef jerky, right? That get anything out of him? No. What would, okay, there has to be, because the thing is, if I can get something angry out of them, I might be able to get something about the culture of Lordran. Okay. Wait, I have an idea. What? Maybe I've been thinking about this all wrong. So it's like, look at him right there, like lifeless, right? I've been just saying hot dogs and stuff. What if instead of just saying a hot dog, I haven't specified what type of hot dog, because obviously hot dog isn't unanimous across the board of what it is. So it's like, obviously, if we're talking about humanity, very, very, very simple, right? Because like they don't have a lot of stuff. But in Anor Londo, where Gwyn would be, because they would eat for pleasure, right? I imagine it would be more complicated than that. It'd probably be really fancy. So if I actually said that one of the ingredients wasn't high quality, would that irritate them? that might be able to trigger some kind of reaction to really get loyalty out of them. And maybe we might be able to get something, because here's the thing, a little bit of a violent reaction towards what Gwyn would like on a hot dog would actually be the key to uncovering the true lore of how, essentially, what is it? The Kingdom of Lordran essentially operated as a whole, more specifically Anor Londo. And now, let's say this. You ready, buddy? Oh yeah, he's looking quite ready. Gwyn likes relish on his hot dog. Oh, uh-oh. Oh, jeez. Well, yeah, that provoked a violent reaction out of him.